So my next set of instructions, the examiner is going to ask me to do an in-cab inspection and engine start as outlined in the CDL driver's handbook. So that starts really as soon as you get your butt in the seat. First thing you should be doing is checking that your seatbelt is working. So pull it out, check that it's not frayed, give it a tug, make sure the inertia reel is working. Check that it locks and that it unlocks, and in some cases we may also have a shoulder strap that hooks on in that fashion. I know some drivers don't like the shoulder strap, but so now I'm going to get the vehicle ready here. So I'm going to again turn on my ignition, and I'm going to turn it on to my night run. I'm going to do that deliberately. As I do that, I hear the vehicle doing a self-check. All of my lights are coming on and going away again, and the ABS light has gone off. That indicates that the vehicle is the ABS is working. I check that I'm in neutral by looking at my gear select indicator, and with my foot on the brake, push the start button. That noise you hear now, that chirping, is my low air warning. Identify to the examiner that low air warning sound, because you may forget to talk about it later on, and as long as you mention it now, we're good. And I'm going to hit the fast idle to speed up the air buildup. So as we look at our air gauge here, we can see our air is building up. They should both build up at an even speed, well, pretty much even. The green arrow is my primary tank, the orange arrow is the secondary tank, and you'll see at the moment we're at about 60 psi. At this point, make sure you have a watch with a second hand, because you're going to need it shortly. What we're going to do first is we're going to check the air buildup. And I want to check that this vehicle builds its air from 85 psi to 100 in less than 45 seconds. At the moment we're at 70. And the low air warning should go away any second. Any second now. There it goes. So my low air warning has gone out, and it's now 85 psi, so I'm timing that. I want it to get to 100 psi in less than 45 seconds. And that's checking the compressor build-up, and that the compressor is working and building air at an adequate rate. So we're at 95, and that's been about 20 seconds. There we go, pretty much there now. That took about 35 seconds to get up to 100. So air build up, the compressor is working well. Our next air check while we watch is now going to be the governor cutout. And when it gets to about 120, 125, I should hear the governor go psh. So again we wait. and there she blows. So that's telling me that my airbags, my air tanks aren't going to blow up. And the air has now stopped building at about 125, I believe. My next checks now, I've checked the air builder. I'm now going to check the pressure hold to make sure I've got no leaks in the system. And to do this, I'm going to shut the system down again. So let's turn off the vehicle. I'm now going to release the spring brake. This is the reason why I had those rear wheels chopped, remember? That opens the air system. Turning my ignition back on. I'm going to need that later. And now, after I put my foot on the foot brake, after initial pressure drop, I shouldn't see a drop of more than 3 psi in 1 minute. And that will confirm that my system is holding air and not leaking. If we had a trailer attached with air brakes, then that would be a 4 psi in a minute. So again, you'll need your watch with a second hand. And we could just pretend we've got to a minute. But there's been no pressure drop at all. And that's been a minute. You see, the miracle of video photography. So, you may have noticed the vehicle moved just a little there because I've got all my brakes off. I'm now going to do check my emergency system. So the first thing I'm going to do is fan off air, and I'm going to be looking for my low air warning to come on. So as I fan off my air, and I can see the gauge dropping every time I hit the brake pedal, I'm going to be looking up here for my low air warning. There it is, low air brakes. That came on at 70 psi, which is about right. And it's not accompanied by the chirping sound because my engine is off. And the reason I did this with my engine off is I didn't want to fight the compressor on the air builder. But we already identified the chirping sound, the low air warning, the audible warning when we started it up, and we'll hear it again in just a second. I'm going to continue to fan off my air, and before I get to 40 psi, my spring brake or parking brake should pop up. There it goes. Stop doing that. And that was at 45 psi. That was at 45 psi. What I'm going to do now is start the vehicle back up again and start checking some other stuff. So my ignition is on. Start the vehicle. There's that chirping, the low air warning that we talked about earlier. Reapply the fast idle. And you'll notice as well my ABS light is not on. On this vehicle I can do a check here. And you can see there's my low ABS light. And that's gone away. I do have a couple of warning lights, but they're amber. My check trans light, my check engine light. All the other lights are lights I would expect to see. This one should go away about 70, along with the chirping sound. We should lose that as well. I'm just doing a fix. Alright. Now while we're waiting for that, we could be checking some other things around here. One thing I need to check is that I've checked the external light operation. I need to make sure, there we go, low air warning's gone away. I need to make sure now that the interior indicators for those lights are working. So again, if we look up at the panel up above us, my left turn signal, that's working. My right turn signal is working. My high beam indicator is working. And my four-ways indicator is working. So that's check my lights. Now as I go along, I'm going to do a scan around. I've already checked the condition of my mirrors, driver's side and passenger side, but now I'm checking that they're positioned correctly and confirming from inside that I don't see any cracks, obstructions, damage to that mirror. As I go across to the passenger side, I'm confirming that that one's properly adjusted. No cracks or damage to the mirror. There is a mark on the windshield there between me and that mirror, but we can probably clean that off. As I'm looking at the windshield, confirming what I saw outside, it's not cracked or broken, obstructed or pitted. And now I can turn on my windshield wipers to make sure that they're working. Wipers and washers are both working. Although the driver's side one doesn't seem to be spraying a lot of water. But those are both working. I'm also going to check the vents and make sure my heater and defroster is working. I put my hand up here, I feel for air, then I'm going to turn it to the floor and feel for air down at my feet. The fan is working. As I go along, I'm checking gauges. I check my voltmeter. That's at about 30 volts, which is about right on a 24 volt system for a charge. I've already talked about the two gauges outside the vehicle, my oil pressure gauge and my temperature gauge. We've checked those and there are indicators up above me in case there is a problem with those. You don't need to check much else as far as any of these other items here. Give your horn a beep. Move your steering wheel, confirm there's not too much play. That also confirms that your steering linkage is working correctly. If you do it full lock, you'll feel if there's a problem, if a pitman arm or a drag link is not straight or it's cracked, you'll feel that in the steering. And this vehicle has electric assist steering as well. That's why it has a smaller steering wheel. Now we can check the ramp from where we're sitting, the passenger ramp. So I'm going to open the front door. That's confirming that that's working. I'm going to kneel the bus. My power light has come on for the ramp. So then I hit the deploy button. And occasionally you have to give it a kick. And my passenger ramp for my passengers is working. Here it comes, slowly but surely. And as you folks know, some work better than others. Now I also have a couple of other brake checks to perform before I leave this area. And before I do those, I'm going to remove the chocks. So if you bear with me for just 1 second, I'll just run out, I'll be right back. And luckily we were on level ground, so the chocks came away quite easily. I'll just pop them there for now. My other brake checks. Well, first thing I need to do is check that my parking brake is working. That's difficult on a bus that has an interlock. Oh, hang on. There we go. Some buses have their quirks, as you know. So, my vehicle is in neutral. What I'm going to do with my foot on the brake, I'm going to take off the parking brake again and put it in drive. Reapply the parking brake. My vehicle's not moving anywhere. Confirming my parking brake is working. My next move is a 5 mile an hour brake check. So I shall put it back in drive again. And I'm going to drive forward at 5 miles an hour. Just gently pull forward. And as I apply my brakes, I should stop smoothly and gently in a straight line without pulling to one side or the other. and that's confirmed that. So now I'll place the vehicle back into neutral. And I believe that's everything on this area that I need to talk about. So